All right, this is like my third time trying to record this because for some reason the voiceover doesn't seem to stick. So let's try again. This is a while ago now. I feel like this is like 10 years ago because now I'm at Special Olympics. Been doing some reffing for Illinois Summer Games, which is a really cool thing that I've been able to do. My wife, Jordan, has been a part of Special Olympics and special recreation programs for basically her entire adult life. And so when we met and she found out I was into powerlifting, she started connecting me with that. And so I've been giving back the last couple years. About 2 times a year I do reffing. So now I've been head reffing for Special Olympics for the last 2 summers, which is really cool. But yeah, this was my bench day that I did before I left. This is the best variation of bench I've ever done. And I can say that because now this was like Tuesday and it's Saturday and my triceps are still sore. This is a close grip banded Larson Spoto press. Like, it's just like my coach sat down and was like, what's the most disadvantaged bench that I can give Nick, so that way he can stop sucking at bench. But no, I really like these. It definitely 100%. I mean, the bands and the close grip overloads the lockout, but then when you also Spoto it, meaning stopping 2 inches above the chest, and you do a Larson press, meaning legs not on the ground, like, it's purely just working the range of the bench press where I fail, which I've been stuck around the same bench for a while. I can do 441 in the gym on certain given days, and I can do 435 almost any day. But I've done a 435 Larson press, like, so 435 with no feet. So, like, there's a big gap in where my bench press should be based on my, like, overall strength. So, and because I get stuck just right about there, right about where the Spoto happens, this just makes a lot of sense. So, and this was a super high volume day. We did 4 sets of 7 and then an AMRAP where I think I got like 4 or 5. And I thought that was pretty good. I was like, that's a decent amount of reps overall. But my coach's feedback was like, cool, this is a weakness. We'll work on that. So awesome. You know, good to know that I suck at these enough that we can keep working on them, but I really like them. I also gave them to my client, Natalie, who's, soon to be the greatest bench presser at 18 years old, female that's ever lived. She's incredible. She got an 85 kg bench. She did them. She also said that it was an awesome and humbling variation, so really cool. Followed it up, we had some Viking press. This is part of the strategy right now in bench press, is just doing a lot more overhead work. But it's funny because it said 100 pounds, and I've done 420 pounds for 2 reps on this machine. So at first I loaded 100 pounds per side, but I was so smoked that I didn't really get that many reps. So I realized he probably meant 100 pounds total, which turned out to be the truth. So, and then more tricep work. We did overhead tricep extensions here with the rope attachment. I know you can't see the attachment. It's just a standard rope attachment. I like to set the pulley lower than my actual extension there, so you're kind of at an upward angle. Feels really good. Always works the long head of the tricep. I usually put this in for my clients at either like the first week we ever do together or after we restart a training cycle. It's just a really good way to hit the triceps. And it also pulls your shoulders back in a way that does work a little bit of mobility. So if you're an older, beat-up powerlifter like me, it's good to make sure that you're still working in those kinds of range of motion. This is another great accessory that I really like that I started doing recently. Dumbbell Y presses with a neutral grip. I went like way too wide here. That's way more like a dumbbell rear delt fly. And then Operation Baby Hands, we did some plate pinches there. That was 2 10-kilo plates, just try to hold them together on the smooth part. Turned out to be really challenging. Me and Larry both worked on that and found it to be really tough. This is a separate day. This is the deadlift day. I actually woke up really early to get this done before we drove down here to Bloomington Normal for Special Olympics. And the first thing on the deadlift day was just doing hook grips as part of the warm-ups. I don't know if hook grip's going to become like a viable thing for me in competition. I mean, the idea that I could be able to do this with like 700 or 800 pounds seems far-fetched when I look at my hands, but I'm starting to gaslight myself into believing that it's possible. So I worked up to 375. I don't even think my technique with it was very good. I did get coached by my very good friend Shane, who is an amazing deadlifter and has a great hook grip. His hands are very different than mine, but I think he has a good understanding of it, so it really helped me out. And then after I did them, I got feedback from my coach on how to do it. But after I finished those, this switched over to this is actually my Ohio Power Bar, so a super stiff bar, much thicker bar. And we did it bare hands, which if you've followed my training at all, most of my deadlift training has been done with straps over the last couple of years. And so I think everybody in their head's probably like, yeah, like no crap. Of course your grip's going to fail. You never trained it. We always trained grip separately. And for 2.5 years, it worked great. I got up to a 705-pound deadlift without straps. And it just recently, it's become a problem. So the thing is with my hands, losing that grip strength, specifically my left hand, really started to have a weird issue with grip strength. I think that I figured it out. I talked about that in the last YouTube video, but also just needing to toughen my hands because the calluses just want to tear. So we're definitely going to be doing a mix in here. So you can see I did the back down sets with straps. And this was a super high volume day of deadlift. I think that's going to be the strategy, at least for the beginning part of this meet prep, because I am technically 6 weeks out from my next meet already. Yes, I stay crazy busy. No, I don't recommend it. It's a stupid way to train. You should probably give yourself long off seasons. This is just what I'm doing. But yeah, I did 3 sets of 8 with, this was like 465. And it's just speed work, which is another way of just saying like you're using sub-maximal weights. But if you put maximal force into sub-maximal weights, you can get a lot out of your body in that way. Fred Hatfield, legend, first guy to squat 800 pounds, first guy to squat 1,000 pounds ever. Look it up if you don't know who he is. Talked about that. He called it compensatory acceleration training. Later on, Westside Barbell would talk about speed training, add bands, all to that. But the theory is just, it's super simple. Even if it's not about force production per se, even though, of course, velocity training now is making a big comeback and stuff like that. I think the ultimate idea is just that if you use sub-maximal weights and you put maximal force, you're going to get what you need out of it.